All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another SLG video. My name's Kabir. I am the Bio 111 SLG leader. And today, along with Jordan, one of our mentors at the SLG program, we'll be going over the types of learners as described by the theory of multiple intelligences. So basically, we'll be discussing how to identify what type of learner you are and then how to best study for each type. So firstly, we'll go over there's 7 broad categories of learners. So this includes auditory and musical, visual, verbal, logical and mathematical, physical or kinesthetic, social and interpersonal, and then solitary and intrapersonal. The first one we'll start with is auditory and musical. So these people generally like to hear solutions and examples explained to them. They possess a good ear for music and tone. They like to talk to themselves, others, hum and sing. And unfortunately, they may be easily distractible. So some strategies for yourself if you are an auditory or musical individual. You might like to record your lectures so you can listen back to them at a later date, read your notes aloud, work in study groups, use mnemonics and songs to help memorize notes, and try to minimize distractions as much as possible when learning. So put your phones away. If you're studying by yourself, maybe a bit more quiet environment, and just whatever you can do to minimize those distractions. Next, we have verbal learners. So these individuals have a preference for reading and writing, word games, and poems. They usually are described as intellectuals or bookworms and are generally good storytellers. Some strategies for verbal learners would be to write out your notes, present concepts to others. Teaching other students can be a really good strategy. So concepts that you're familiar with, try teaching to someone else that might struggle with that concept. Reread notes and lectures can also be really good. Next, we have the physical learners. So these are commonly referred to as hands-on learners. They prefer to physically engage with the material or subject matter. Generally, they're action-oriented, outgoing, and energetic. So if you are a physical learner, it might be best to periodically take breaks when you're studying to move around and expend some extra energy. It might be helpful to use props and models to interact with the material. And generally, it's a good idea to declutter your workspace to allow for some focused learning.
All right. So as Kabir said, my name's Jordan, and I'm one of the mentors this semester for SLG. And I'll be taking you through the final few types of learners that there are. So first here we have a solitary and intrapersonal learner. And a solitary learner, in addition to being solitary, can also be a visual, auditory, physical, verbal, or logical learner as well. And these types of individuals often like to work independently or privately and are often introspective, meaning that they often like to work in a smaller group or individually to get their studying done and to learn material. And so if this sounds relatable to you, some study strategies you can apply for yourself that might be beneficial are you can find a partner or small group that you're comfortable working with. You can work in a quiet area such as the library or any specific study halls. You can set goals to motivate your learning for each week or throughout the semester. And you can also keep a study log or journal of how your studying progress is going and some things that you learned that day. So now moving on to visual learners. So visual learners are people who often like to draw or doodle either in class or when they're studying. They're often quite observant of their surroundings and what's going on around them. And they're usually not easily distracted, and they tend to prefer visual instructions as opposed to auditory instructions. And if this sounds relatable to you in any way, some strategies you can employ for learning more effectively are you can focus on note-taking and rewriting your notes, color-coding your notes, using cue cards, sitting near the front of the class, using diagrams and flowcharts, or watching videos on a topic that you're studying in a course on YouTube or other formats. And then we have logical and mathematical learners, and these individuals are people that have a strong pattern recognition, so they're good at picking up on different patterns going on very quickly. They're good at working with numbers. They're good at grouping and classification, so they're often very good at putting things together. And if this sounds relatable to you, some strategies you can employ for more effective learning or you can try to organize course notes in a logical manner. So a very simple example is if you're taking an art class and you need to learn about the colors, one thing you could do is you could organize the colors into a color wheel and kind of see how different colors can be combined into creating different colors. Or you could try to categorize different course material. So for example, if you're taking a literature course, you could ask, what category of book is this specific book that I'm reading? So what kind of genre is it? So obviously these are very simple examples of this instances, but they're just kind of to show you the broad strokes of how you could better organize things as a logical learner. So then finally we have our social and interpersonal learners. And these are individuals that are good at communicating with others. They're often very extroverted and often prefer to work in groups as opposed to individually. And they sometimes prefer to take a leadership role when they're in a study group. And they're often sensitive to others and very empathetic when talking with others. And so if this sounds really relatable to you, some really effective study strategies for you are you can try to form a study group with others that you know in your classes. You can join online communities or forums related to your course specific. You can engage in discussions or debates with others in your class or outside of class about specific course topics that you're studying, and a variety of other things where you're engaging with other students in the class directly. So yeah, I would like to thank all of you for listening today. And just a final thing to note, if you want to practice employing any of these study strategies we have discussed today in this video, I would really strongly encourage you to attend SLG, where we really try to focus on these different types of learners and try to cater different activities to the different types of learners that there are. So I would like to thank all of you again for listening, and I hope that you have a great semester. Thank you.